contrary, no. The ayes have it. Honourable members, we now come to part 6, and this is debate on clauses 285 through to 399, and it includes the schedules 1 through to 3.
Mr. Chairman.
I call the Honourable Marianne Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I rise to speak to this part 6, in particular clause 383, and in that respect, Mr. Speaker, the SOP that stands in my own name, which is SOP 112, which would amend clause 382, in fact. Mr. Chairman, I just want to correct that I am talking about clause 382 and my SOP on that, which is 112. Mr. Chairman, my amendment, my SOP is quite straightforward. It's quite a simple measure, and again, as with every other speech I have made in this House on this piece of legislation, it has a health focus. It imposes a health levy. In other words, a tax, indeed a tax, but not an excise tax on producers, well, an excise tax which is levied on sale but sheeted back home to the producers more often than not. But in this case, a levy that is gathered at point of sale. In other words, it is an impost on consumers, and it is in regulation form. In other words, it is at the discretion of the minister, who could levy this health levy as and when required, using what the Law Commission recommended, which was price as a deterrent against heavy alcohol consumption. Mr. Chairman, the most obvious use of this health levy would be for a minister to declare that a certain amount of money would be added to the price of a particular product line at the point of sale for off-licences. Now, this would only apply at off-licences, not on unlicensed premises like restaurants or cafes or bars, but off-licensed premises, wholesalers, supermarkets, bottle stores and so on, as we're familiar with. But this levy could be extracted at the point of sale. It would be an impost on the consumer, and the minister could apply it, for example, to RTDs, to ready-to-drink products, which I personally consider to be the most flagrant attempt of the alcohol industry to lure young people by disguising what is otherwise a bitter flavour of alcohol and an acquired taste, by disguising that as a sweet drink that can be attractive to young people. So in other words, getting young people hooked on consuming quantities of alcohol without really appreciating the fact that they are doing so. Mr. Chairman, the point of this levy being exercised at point of sale is that it would have the deterrent effect of, in some respects, minimum pricing, but it would have that deterrent effect, but it could be applied to particular product lines for a certain length of time. I support also my colleague Phil Goff's SOP when it comes to ready-to-drink products, but this one has two notable features that I think are worth speaking to. The first is that this levy is ring-fenced. It is pegged to go back to the health sector. not to go into the consolidated fund, not to go back to the alcohol industry, but to go into the provision of health services arising from excessive consumption and abuse of alcohol. So that is why it is called a health levy, that it would be targeted for a particular purpose, to a particular product, for a certain length of time. If it became apparent, Mr. Chairman, that there were other products, say the Minister decided to exercise this health levy against RTDs, Mr. Chairman.
I call the honourable member Mary Ann Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If the Minister had decided to levy this health levy on RTDs, and it emerged over time that there was another product line that had become fashionable for young people, for example, to consume in harmful quantities, because that is the primary driver for or rationale for this SOP, that the Minister could then apply another levy to another product line for an alternative length of time. So this has these two notable features that other SOPs don't have. One is that it can be applied flexibly to a range of product lines, and the other is that the proceeds from it would go back into and be tagged for the provision of health services for those who have problems arising from alcoholism or the excessive use or abuse of alcohol. So, Mr. Chairman, this is fairly straightforward. It's a health levy at point of sale. It would be established by regulation and therefore would not need to come back to the House on a regular basis, but could be done by regulation and come to the scrutiny of the Regulations Review Committee. It could be used variably across a range of products, so that it could specifically target certain products such as I've suggested, ready-to-drink beverages or spirits or beer or wine or other alcoholic beverages according to their proven and demonstrable harmful effects. Mr. Chairman, one of the things that I keep coming back to is that the Law Commission didn't make its recommendations in a vacuum, and I am still disappointed that this government has not taken up some of the forceful recommendations of the Law Commission, because as I read it, the Law Commission arrived at their recommendations on the basis of evidence. And this health levy is also predicated on the basis of any new evidence that might emerge in the future that would single out and target particular alcohol products as being harmful. Harmful because they were fashionable, harmful because they're marketed in a particularly deceptive way to young people, harmful because they are disguised, harmful because they are more readily accessible than other products, or for whatever reason that they might cause harm. The underlying reason for this SOP is to avoid harm, to minimise harm, and where harm has been proven to occur, that the proceeds from the health levy be applied back into the problem health areas. So its application to health problems arising from abuse of alcohol will in fact address one of the Law Commission's recommendations in this regard. And so the establishment of a point of sale health levy only for off-licence premises is also a mechanism that can stop heavy discounting, possibly to below cost. So it can be used to prevent that loss-leading scenario that happens in off-licences such as supermarkets. It would also, Mr. Chairman, have a very limited effect on those who drink safely and responsibly. Because if a favourite product is subject to this levy, then people who drink safely and responsibly are not going to be consuming it in such quantities that they feel a huge impact from the levy. But where it is purchased and consumed in excess and in large quantities, there will be a deterrent effect. So this SOP combines the deterrent effect of additional price mechanisms without that being sheeted back home to producers such as wine growers, and it applies that levy to health remedies and services for those suffering from the effects of alcohol abuse. Mr. Chairman, this is an SOP that is worthy of consideration. I would appeal once more to the Minister to look on it favourably, and I commend it to the House. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
I call the honourable member Kevin Hayes.